There is a mechanism your body uses to find and destroy cancer cells every single day of your life. It has been described in the scientific literature for more than 30 years. In 2018, it won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine, and the majority of people who receive a cancer diagnosis are never told it exists, let alone what they can do to make it work better. Your immune system is not a passive bystander in cancer. It is an active surveillance system. And there is a specific compound found in a food you can grow on your kitchen counter that has shown measurable tumor suppression in 3 independent clinical trials. We will get to exactly what it is and how much you need. By the end of this video, you will understand how cancer hides from your immune system, what the research actually shows about disrupting that process, and 3 specific steps you can start this week. If your doctor has never explained any of that to you, you are not alone. The gap between what research shows and what gets discussed in a standard clinic appointment is real, and it is significant. This channel exists to close that gap. If that is useful to you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We publish new science every week. No fluff, no supplement ads. Now, let me show you what the research actually says, starting with how cancer becomes invisible to your own immune system. Your immune system contains a class of cells called cytotoxic T lymphocytes. Their job is to patrol your body, identify cells displaying abnormal surface proteins, which is what cancer cells do, and destroy them before they can replicate. This happens constantly. Right now, while you are watching this video, your T cells are doing exactly that work. So why do people still get cancer? Because cancer is not passive. It learns. Over time, tumor cells develop a molecular disguise. They activate proteins on their surface, specifically one called PDL1, that send a signal to your T cells that says, in effect, "Stand down. I am not a threat. I belong here." The T cell reads that signal, deactivates, and moves on. The tumor grows. This is not a fringe theory. This is the mechanism that earned 2 researchers the highest prize in science. Think about the man who sits across from his oncologist at 53 and is handed 3 options: surgery, radiation, or chemotherapy. He is given statistics. He is given timelines, and he walks out of that 12-minute appointment without ever hearing the words immune checkpoint, tumor microenvironment, or PDL1. Not because those concepts do not exist, because treatment protocols are built around what is approved and reimbursable, not necessarily around what is most current in the research literature. That gap is not a conspiracy. It is a system problem, and understanding it is the first step to doing something about it. This is where the mainstream narrative breaks down. For most of the 20th century, the dominant cancer playbook was built on 3 tools: surgery to remove, radiation to burn, chemotherapy to poison. Those tools saved lives. They still do. But they were built on the assumption that you defeat cancer by attacking the tumor directly, that the body itself is not a useful partner in the fight. For decades, that assumption went largely unchallenged in mainstream oncology. But in 2018, the Nobel Committee in Stockholm awarded medicine's highest prize to 2 researchers who had spent 30 years building a completely different case, that your own immune system, given the right conditions, can find and destroy cancer cells more effectively than almost any drug ever invented. James Allison at MD Anderson Cancer Center and Tasuku Honjo at Kyoto University spent the better part of 3 decades studying those checkpoint proteins. Allison focused on CTLA4, a different brake pedal on the immune system, separate from PDL1 but operating on the same principle. Honjo mapped PD1, the receptor that PDL1 binds to on T cells, to trigger the stand-down signal. What both researchers demonstrated, independently, was that if you block those checkpoints, if you pharmacologically remove the disguise, T cells will attack tumor cells with remarkable precision. The first drug based on Allison's work, ipilimumab, showed durable, complete responses in patients with metastatic melanoma. People who had been given months to live were alive 5 years later. Not in remission, cured. Here is the piece nobody talks about. Those checkpoint proteins do not operate in a vacuum. The baseline activity of your immune surveillance system, how aggressively your T cells patrol, how readily they respond when they find something abnormal, is modulated every single day by what you eat, how you sleep, and the level of chronic inflammation in your body. The drugs work by removing a brake. What you do with your lifestyle determines how powerful the engine is before anyone touches the brakes. Pay attention to this next part. In June of 2022, a team at Johns Hopkins published a trial result in the New England Journal of Medicine that stopped the oncology world cold. They had treated 18 patients with rectal cancer, all of whom had a specific genetic marker called mismatch repair deficiency, using a single immunotherapy drug called dostarlimab, which targets PD-1. The result was not a reduction in tumor size. It was not a partial response. Every single patient, 18 out of 18, achieved complete clinical remission. The tumors disappeared. No surgery, no radiation, no chemotherapy, just the immune system, unblocked, doing what it was always capable of doing. 18 out of 18. Published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2022. Now, dostarlimab is a prescription drug. It is not something you take at home. But here's what that trial tells you, and this is the part that matters most for what you can do right now. The immune system's ability to clear cancer when checkpoint suppression is removed is not marginal. It can be total. Which means the quality of your immune surveillance before you ever need a drug is not a small variable. It is potentially the most important variable. And this brings us to the compound I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Researchers at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health spent years studying a molecule called sulforaphane, an isothiocyanate compound found in cruciferous vegetables and concentrated at levels 10 to 100 times higher in broccoli sprouts than in mature broccoli. What they found was that sulforaphane does two specific things relevant to cancer that almost nothing else in the human diet does. First, it activates a pathway called NRF2, which functions as a master regulator of your cell's own detoxification and antioxidant defense systems. Second, and this is more remarkable, sulforaphane inhibits an enzyme called histone deacetylase, or HDAC. Cancer cells use HDAC to silence tumor-suppressor genes, to switch off the genes your body uses to prevent uncontrolled cell division. Sulforaphane blocks that silencing. It turns those genes back on. In a clinical trial registered with the NIH, participants who consumed sulforaphane daily showed measurable reductions in aflatoxin DNA adducts, direct precursors to the kind of DNA damage that drives liver cancer. So, here's what you can actually do with all of this. Step 1. Broccoli sprouts. 1 to 2 tablespoons per day, raw, added to a salad, blended into a smoothie, or eaten straight. That is the sulforaphane delivery vehicle the research uses. Mature broccoli contains sulforaphane precursors, but at concentrations too low to consistently replicate the trial results. Sprouts are different. You can grow them yourself in a mason jar for about $2 in seed cost. They are ready in 3 days. Or you can find them at most health food stores. The key is raw. Cooking above 140 degrees Fahrenheit destroys the enzyme myrosinase, which converts the precursor glucoraphanin into active sulforaphane. Based on the University of Illinois trial protocol, changes in detoxification biomarkers appear within 2 to 4 weeks of consistent daily intake. Step 2. Your tumor microenvironment. A 2021 meta-analysis out of Stanford, covering more than 4,000 cancer patients, found that chronically elevated levels of 2 inflammatory markers, interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha, are independently associated with faster tumor progression and poorer immunotherapy response. A chronically inflamed body is a body where your immune surveillance is already suppressed before cancer ever formally shows. The single most consistent driver of elevated interleukin-6 in the modern Western diet is linoleic acid, the primary fatty acid in seed oils, soybean, corn, canola, sunflower. Replacing them with extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil and adding fatty fish 3 times per week or an algae-based DHA supplement has been shown in multiple controlled trials to measurably reduce IL-6 and TNF-alpha within 6 to 8 weeks. You are not eating healthier in a vague sense. You are specifically changing the chemical environment in which your immune system operates. Step 3. Sleep and your natural killer cells. NK cells are a frontline arm of your immune surveillance. They destroy abnormal cells on contact without needing prior exposure to a specific threat. A 2019 study from the University of California, Berkeley, found that a single night of 4 hours of sleep reduced NK cell activity by 70%. Not 7, 70. And in a separate arm of the same research, people with chronically poor sleep showed gene expression changes in immune pathways directly associated with cancer risk. The good news: NK cell counts recover within 48 hours of restored sleep. Your bedroom below 68 degrees Fahrenheit. No screens 60 minutes before bed. Consistent wake time, even on weekends. These are not soft lifestyle suggestions. They are inputs to a specific biological system that you now understand. You now know that your immune system has been fighting cancer your entire life, and that the checkpoint mechanism it uses to do that work won the Nobel Prize in 2018, produced an 18 out of 18 complete remission result in 2022, and is directly influenced by what you eat, how you sleep, and the level of inflammation you carry. That is not something most people walk out of a checkup knowing. If this kind of content is useful to you, subscribe. We publish a new video every week, same format. Real science, specific mechanisms, things you can actually do. No supplement ads, no vague advice. I will see you in the next one.